on the segue of like of Johnny charging us, basically, we're going into like basically on the pricing of the services. So it depends on, if it's just solely composing, then there's have to be certain things, lots of different factors. But like, obviously we're doing this passion. We're also obviously want to do this as a career. We're not doing this as a hobby. That's the whole point of it, really. So you need to know what your pricing is, and there's multiple different factors about it. And Sam, what's your opinion, and what advice would you give on like someone to know what kind of pricing that they would have?
I would say that obviously it depends a lot on who your client is, and I mean we always get it wrong sometimes. Like I think it's easy to get it wrong, but one thing I would say is never underprice yourself, because one thing I did when I was first starting out is I'd mix a track for £50. And then one thing that I realized is the £50 client is a lot harder to work with than the £5,000 client. And it's exactly that thing. The person who is putting the money into it is actually way more chill about things, and they'll communicate way better. And because also you're getting paid a decent amount, you don't mind going and doing changes, versus if you've done, let's say you've made £50 and you've done like a couple of hours on it at this point, then you start going, okay, I'm done. And then then they come back with more changes. And at some point you go in, well, I'm making less than I would if I worked at McDonald's. And at some point you go, this is not worth it anymore. And because of that, you get resentful of the person. So charging for the right amount is always necessary. It depends a lot on budget. Like when you're first starting out as well, like if you're working with student filmmakers, they're going to have very little budget, maybe none at all. And if you're just starting out and you want stuff for your portfolio, that could be a wise investment. You don't need to necessarily make your living from the first job you ever do. And in fact, it could be worth investing in that relationship by doing something for free for them. And then maybe later on when they've got, a bigger budget, they might still bring you on, and you cultivate that relationship. Then there's also other types of work where you can work for a percentage of the final things, and then it works off licensing. This is where I make most of my money from, which is the licensing side of things. So I actually do a lot of work for free, and then later on down the line when it gets used, it gets paid. It's very difficult to know exactly where your pricing is, but I would say just make sure you value your time, and you're not just accepting anything, because that's a way to burn out and race to the bottom. Because if you say you'll charge 100 and then they say, okay, that's going to be 12 hours work, okay, then that's £8 an hour. If then it turns out, that's not much at all, and then it comes out as there's revisions, that becomes even less. If you say then it's going to cost per hour, you want to make it a decent rate, so not anything like £8 an hour. You want it to be a lot more than that.